It's time now to get the latest business news then with Charles Pellegrin, our business editor. We'll begin in Vienna then, where OPEC members, Charles, are holding a meeting in a tough context, of course, for the global oil sector.
That's correct. The global oil cartel and its allies, a group often referred to as OPEC+, which includes Russia, are responsible for about 40% of the world's crude. And faced with flagging prices, they opted to cut oil output since November 2022. A deal was struck back in April where OPEC+ members agreed to limit supply into 2024, taking total reductions to over 5 million barrels per day, or 5% of the global oil output. Well, in addition, Saudi Arabia, the world's biggest exporter of crude, as well as Russia, decided to deepen these cuts on Monday to prop up prices further. But despite all of this, the effect on benchmark prices hasn't been significant. Well, there are a number of explanations for this. The first and most important is that there are persistent concerns over weak demand for oil, especially with Chinese economic indicators suggesting the post-zero COVID recovery there isn't as strong as expected. And then there's the issue of higher interest rates, with central banks in the US and the European Union sending out signals that they could continue to push up rates in order to fight stubbornly high inflation. This means higher costs for manufacturers and less disposable income for consumers. And there's also the fact that while OPEC+ is trying to reduce output, American production of crude has grown faster than expected.
So what are oil prices looking like this Wednesday then?
Well, let's take a look at the two main benchmarks for the global oil industry. The Brent crude currently trading lower by 0.5% after some gains were seen following the production cuts announced by Saudi Arabia and Russia on Monday. You can see trading around $75 a barrel. The West Texas Intermediate, the futures on the West Texas Intermediate meanwhile are higher from Monday's close. That's as markets were shut for the 4th of July holiday in the U.S.
So, Charles, we had mentioned concerns over demand in China having this impact on oil prices, but there's also some new data illustrating this.
That's correct. Activity in the Chinese services sector continued to grow for a 6th straight month in June, but was significantly slower than the previous month, according to a survey by Caixin. According to that survey, business activity and new orders both expanded at notably slower rates than seen in May, as some firms reported softer than expected market demand. Well, the news led to a sell-off on the Hang Seng in Hong Kong and the Shanghai Composite. As you can see there, Shanghai Composite down 0.75%, the Hang Seng in Hong Kong down over 1.5%, both those indices trading lower. The Nikkei in Tokyo down 0.25% at the close as well, with similar data from the Japanese services sector as well. European investors this Wednesday morning at the open also assessing that data on the Chinese services sector this Wednesday. We can see the FTSE in London down 0.33%, the Paris CAC down 0.5% there as well.
In other business news then, Charles, Europe's historic satellite launcher Ariane 5 is set for a final liftoff on Wednesday.
That's right. And in 3 decades, Ariane has actually established itself as a world leader in that sector until the arrival of competition from private companies like SpaceX. And the race isn't going very well for Ariane, as its next generation model, Ariane 6, has faced several delays. Shirley Sidbon has this.
A final liftoff after 27 years of service. Ariane is known as Europe's reliable satellite launcher. 5 out of its 116 flights have failed. But it had a rocky start when its initial flight exploded in 1996. A decade later, Ariane was the world's leading satellite launcher with a 60% market share. It's Ariane 5 who sent NASA's James Webb Telescope to space. Since the creation of SpaceX, Ariane 5 has become too expensive. Ariane 6, its successor, is expected to launch more satellites into various orbits for a price that is 40% to 50% cheaper. But the complex rocket is 3 years late on its schedule. As Ariane 5 retires, and until Ariane 6 is operational, Europe will not have its own launch system. The latest trend is to develop small launchers for light satellites, something that is easier to carry out.
Europe is all in favour of these small launchers, which are a sort of revolution. They allow us to send many small satellites to space in a short period of time. These launches are cheaper too. Many companies are developing those launches, and Europe is at the heart of that market.
The space economy is estimated at around $386 billion in revenue, and it's expected to continue growing and hit a potential $1 trillion by 2040.
In other news then, Charles, finally for business, a Singaporean bank has found a pretty efficient way of finding new clients.
That's correct. UOB, United Overseas Bank, announced on June 21st that its credit and debit card holders would have privileged access to tickets to the Taylor Swift concert in the city in March of 2024. And the results have been, well, impressive. The bank saw a 45% surge in credit card applications from all across Southeast Asia in the week following the announcement compared to the previous week. For debit cards, the surge was of 130% in Vietnam and Singapore. So banks around the world should get smart to this strategy and try and enlist a huge pop star that has millions of loyal fans. That's an easy strategy to follow.
Definitely a pretty genius strategy. Surprised it took that long to get there. Charles Pellegrin, thank you very much.